I think even when I was in the hospital, I had a client come and get checks from me because I hadn't gotten to meet with them. So literally, I had the checks and I was like, here, take those with you.
Welcome to The Deep Dark, a business podcast where we ask seasoned minds to excavate their history, pulling out the best insights, the hardest moments, and yes, golden epiphanies. Somewhere in the stories and laughs, we all get a little smarter and feel a little better about our own business ventures. Remember, if it didn't hurt, it doesn't count. Your hosts are Chris Lyon and Tim Douglas at the Fidelis Creative Agency. So strap in and get ready as we plunge once again into The Deep Dark.
On this episode of The Deep Dark, I'm talking with Phyllis Dietz. She is the owner of Dietz Consulting. She is a wife and a mother of 3. We dive into the entrepreneurial experience and how to manage work-life balance as you start a business. Strap in, grab coffee, and get ready to plunge into The Deep Dark. Well, hello everybody. We're here today with Phyllis Dietz from Dietz Consulting. Glad to have her aboard. She is the CEO and owner. And I just on a personal note, wow, she's a powerhouse. We have known her in town here for a while, and she takes care of many, many businesses and many people that we have in common. And that's awesome. But we're here to hear her story and to figure out how she built this business. It wasn't too long ago that I was at an awards ceremony, and there's Phyllis up front, right? One of the fastest growing businesses, and one award after another. And that's neat stuff, and I look forward to you telling us how you got there, right? So Phyllis Dietz. So Phyllis, let's start out at the beginning, right? Tell us about yourself.
So I am born and raised in Bryan College Station. I am the third of 7 kids, and my parents, my mom came here when she was 12 years old, and then my dad came to school at A&M, and they are both small business owners and working hard, and pass that on to me. And I'm also married for 17 years now and have 3 amazing children. So,
well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So how did you get to where you are right now, sitting at this table? Tell us your claim to fame.
Yeah. So, man, when I was 17, I started working for my dad. He owns a roofing company here in Bryan College Station. And, I started as his office manager and, just looking for a way to work hard and earn a living. And then, of course, fast forward a couple years, I got married and then started having children and started looking for a way to work from home. And as I was looking for that opportunity, I had friends and family that also owned small businesses in the Bryan College Station, Brenham, Houston area. And they also were like, hey, I need help. Different things happen in different people's lives where
help with bookkeeping.
Help with bookkeeping, yes,
right.
With their finances, where, people, they're starting businesses, they're selling businesses, whatever it may be. And they also needed help. So that was in, 2009, 2010. That journey started for me of working for someone else other than my dad.
So that was like the launch date of the business was like.
Yes.
So you've only been at this since 2010, really?
Yes. Yep.
Well, you've been madly successful.
Yeah.
it seems as if, because you're kind of a cornerstone in the community when it comes to the work that you do. But you've only been doing it for 13 years?
Yeah. It's been a journey, and I would say word of mouth and being a part of this community, it's very small, and it gets smaller.
It does,
It's crazy how intertwined it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so tell us about Dietz Consulting. What is it that you do that makes it such a good business?
Yeah, so Dietz Consulting, we are a small business bookkeeping and consulting. We primarily focus on small businesses with 25 to 30 employees. Once you kind of get above that, you need a full-time person to help manage your accounting department. And so we fit the need of someone. We've worked with $10 million companies, $20 million companies, but, we also work with the little guys that, started around 250,000 in sales. And so we're fitting that need where, small business owner, they're busy, they're growing, and numbers stress them out, or they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we come in and say, hey, we've got you. And we help them with their accounting. And so one of the things that we try to do is build financial confidence. So their livelihood is taken care of. And then also our employees' livelihood is taken care of. And it's been great. So
do you enjoy it?
I do. I love helping people. The data entry part of it is not my favorite, but I have an amazing team that all day, every day, they're just crunching numbers and entering the information. And we don't do income taxes because I think in general, taxes stress people out, right? But working with us and going from, hey, end of year, my CPA needs all this information, my tax accountant needs all this information. We just flip a switch and say, hey, here it is.
Right.
And it just makes that income tax filing process so much easier
Oh,
and
it's a
less
pain.
stressful.
It is.
So,
Entrepreneurism is tough.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's tougher than people think.
Yeah.
But it is extremely tough when it comes to trying to figure out the books.
Yes.
There are so many rules.
Yes.
And if you don't know the rules correctly, then it'll make you or break you.
Right.
And that is the hard part. And so, many people have a great idea, right? I've got a great idea about what I'm about to do.
Yes.
I'm going to conquer the world. Somebody put that fantasy out there that great ideas are how you get rich. And so they put that out there. And then all of a sudden you find yourself not knowing what quarterly taxes are, not having done the books in the right way at that point in time. And all of a sudden you're sinking.
Right.
And it is a stressful piece.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that the best part of the best way to be an entrepreneur is to do what somebody else doesn't want to do. So you've kind of hit that niche.
Yes.
Right.
And we love it when people come to us at the beginning, not a year or 2 years down the road, because we can help them get on the much better foot from the beginning.
Right.
So it's definitely, it's a pain point, right?
Sure.
Like nobody likes it. I love it. My staff loves it, and they love helping people.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about you for a minute though.
Yeah.
Right? I want to back up.
Yeah.
The first business you started.
Yes.
Right? The first business you started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you tell us what it is, what made you want to start the business? Was it profit motive, or was it something you loved? What was it?
Definitely something I loved. And then having someone believe in me and telling me, you need to do this. And so I had an amazing teacher who said, hey, you're really good at this. You need to start doing it.
And what was the this?
So this was teaching piano lessons.
Gotcha. So you had it. So was it your piano teacher that said you were that good?
Yep.
Now, this is a hidden secret, right? So most of us that know you as the person that's helping with the books does not know that you have this other side.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you still play?
I still play. I play the piano and the violin and a little bit of guitar. So
really,
my dream is to play the cello. That's on my bucket list.
The cello's rad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You need to let us in on that more, right? It's just not the person that's crunching numbers. That's a big deal.
Yes. Yeah.
So you went from there, and then you ended up opening this business eventually. Now, you let me know, but please let the listeners know how'd you learn? How'd you learn to do this?
How did I learn?
Yeah.
Just getting in there, figuring it out. I made a ton of mistakes early on.
Yeah.
Having clients be patient with me as I was learning, because they were learning too, how to grow a business and do a business. My dad had a great system in place when I came in to work for him, because he's been in business over 40 years now. And I think having those systems in place gave me a great foundation to continue and to learn and to see what I could do better too. And so, because that's kind of always how my brain works, is how can this be done better? How can it be more efficient? And I think if you have that drive, it makes a difference. And so learning, going to conferences and different things like that. So
you're self-taught?
Yes, self-taught. Yep.
See, now that's the part I like. Right?
Yeah.
Bootstrapping it.
Yes.
In the real sense.
100%.
Figuring it out. So this being the Deep Dark podcast, where we're going into how you started this, where it went, what you were thinking. Were you crazy? But more than that, here's what I want to know. What sucked? What was the hard part? What was the first thing that you really went, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh man, there's a couple things. I think early on was definitely being a young mom working from home and then having tremendous growth and knowing how to handle it. I remember I had my last kid in 2016, and not to go into gory details, but I ended up having a
Go
C-section.
for it. I like gory details.
I ended up having a C-section, and 3 days after I had him, I was writing payroll checks, or it might have been 2 days after.
Now that's tough.
And
That's tough.
so that really
Not that I've had a C-section.
Yeah,
But yeah. I can't say that I
So-
sympathize, but
yeah,
I do. Having children myself, I
Yeah.
know how long it takes for
yeah.
mom to recover.
Yes, and at the time it was just me, and it was growing and growing, and when you have people's finances on the line and employees that need to get paid, you've got to keep going. Payroll doesn't stop. And so I think even when I was in the hospital, I had a client come and get checks from me because I hadn't gotten to meet with him. So literally,
No slack.
I had the checks and
No
I was
slack.
like, here, take those
Yeah.
with you. So, I mean, a ton of sacrifice, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without my husband, without the Lord, without the support of my children, as well. And even my family, it's just my extended family. It's been a huge difference, but that sucked. And then, so from that continued growth, hiring employees has been the other part that's been hard for me.
It's tough for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that very first part. So, there's an emotional part to this, right?
Yeah.
No matter if we try, we can't bifurcate that
Mhm.
that work life and who we are, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Those two go
Right.
together.
Yeah.
So you have this going, and you can tell me if I'm right. One of the things that always gets me is the weight of the fact that if I don't come through, the business doesn't come through.
Right.
Right? If I fail at this moment, is why you're writing checks 3 days later,
Yeah.
this whole thing fails.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is how I feed my family.
Yes.
So there is no days off. People think the great thing about entrepreneurism
Yeah.
is that you've got some really
Yeah.
cool schedule.
Yeah.
You take off when you want to, come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 10 times the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But tell me about that. What was going through your mind when you were writing those checks?
I think that I have been raised to just work hard and not stop, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. A saying in our family, it's my maiden name, but Winklers never quit. And part of that comes from my grandpa was a Junction boy and
Okay.
played football for Texas A&M.
You may have to explain to
Yeah.
those non-Aggies out there what a Junction Boy is.
So Junction Boys was a football team, I think 1954, maybe 53. Paul Bear Bryant took him out to Junction.
Which is a rocky
Yes.
slough of Texas
Right.
in West Texas.
Yes.
Hotter than Hades.
In August, yep.
Yes, yeah.
And my grandpa, they put them through their 2-a-days, their training camps, and my grandpa was one of the ones that survived and made it back.
Wow.
And so the saying has always been that Winklers never quit. And even one of our core family values is perseverance. And so it's been even when those times were hard, when it was just me, the only way I survived was, it's perseverance and also quality and excellence of work, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a balance, right? And I have come to believe that there is no work-life balance because I
True.
feel like it's unattainable, and it's more about work-life energy management.
For budgeting entrepreneur,
So-
for those thinking about being
Yeah.
a business owner, let's say
Yeah.
it that way, you're scaring them right now.
Yeah.
Right? What do you mean there's no work-life balance?
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
it's real life and it's the deep dark because, that was one of the things that was hard when, you're 2 or 3 days post surgery and you're writing checks.
That's
And, but the clients that I had back then are still with me today, and they love me like their family.
Yeah.
And so,
as we do.
yeah, exactly. So they see
Yeah.
that. And I had started working with Fidelis in 2016 as well. And so they were right along there with me. And it's been a journey to go from that and being alone as an entrepreneur to now having a staff of 10, you know, and it's been a ride.
It's been probably
yeah.
could handle a staff of 20 as busy as y'all are. I know.
Right. Yeah. But I like
Sure.
efficiency. So
I got you.
Yeah.
I would never have thought that about you,
Yeah.
Phyllis, that you like efficiency. So as you were moving through this journey, right, and you started this business, I use this term about myself, so this is in love. You're scraped up, not brought up, right? You actually had to figure this out as you went along. You're doing this as a mom. You got the pressure on you. You're thinking about the bills that are coming in. You're trying to build a business. Nice part is you're not really fireable unless you fire yourself.
Right.
Right. That is a plus.
Yes.
Right. It's a work. But did you ever fail at something in this business?
Definitely. I think that I can list out the failures. A few that come to mind is not asking for help sooner, right? I'm very stubborn, very much like to do it on my own, and very much like, to work hard and figure that out. So not asking for help sooner. And then the other part I think I failed in has kind of been a more recent thing, is not hiring the right people. I think early on in the business, when I was trying to just survive because we were growing so much, I was just like, give me whoever I can find, put them in the chair, and we'll make it work, and it was a lesson that I learned, and I've had a couple people kind of help me figure out who I needed to have and who I needed to be on my team, and I feel so much better about it now, and man, I wish I had learned that sooner. But definitely those two areas, we're not alone and we need help. And there's so much wisdom in the Brazos Valley as just as this local area, but, even in Texas and nationwide, there's so many resources out there for help.
Well, tell me, so that's the learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
So it's really tough to build a team.
Yeah.
And we have a ton of business self-help books that are out there that give you all of these ideas about how that's supposed to work. I'm a little bit biased because of my time in the military and kind of understanding what it's really like when you're on a really good team.
Right.
But I do want to ask you what would you learn? What are you looking for? And I know it changes in degree depending upon position. But are there some core tenets that you are looking for in an individual when you are wanting to integrate them into your team?
Right. Yes, for sure. So one of the things that I did, I think it was last year or maybe the year before, we brought in a leadership coach, and he helped us establish what we call as our culture brand. And so we have 3 words that are our culture brand. And since we now have those 3 words, interviewing has changed.
What are the 3 words?
Yeah, the 3 words are trust, care, and diligence. And so we went through a process, and we went through it as a team with some of the team I have now, and figured out what was important to us, why it was important, and kind of what we were doing with that. And so now that I have that tool, I'll call it a tool, going through and hiring people and even giving the language to my current staff has helped so much, I think, with retention. And even when we have conflict, it's like, hey, you weren't being caring, or you weren't doing the diligence. And, so having that culture brand, going through those steps helps hire the right people so much more. And I don't know if it was just because I am a doer and I get stuff done. I never stopped to think about, hey, what are things that are important to me, and what are things, I know what's important to me, but really stopping and looking at that from a business perspective, and then incorporating that into your interview questions, into your culture, how you're talking to your team, how you're talking to your clients. That has made a world of difference.
It does. Now, I'm a broken record.
Okay.
And so this audience has heard me say this over and over again, but I'll say it again. I'm a firm believer that I hire for behaviors, not for skill sets.
Right. Character. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end, I can teach skill sets.
Right.
Business acumen can be taught.
Yes.
But it's back to that nature or nurture thing.
Yes.
If you come in with behaviors that are repeatable, and
Right.
you come in with behaviors that show maturity and a number of other things, that's the person that I want on the team.
Right.
The rest will work, right?
Right.
That being said, a big question for you. Trust,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is it extended or earned?
Man. Well, my leadership coach would say it's both, because there's a rope, right? And you're both pulling on the rope at the same time. And that's when you know you have a good person, because they're pulling on the rope as you're asking them to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're pulling it back and saying, yes, I trust you. And so I feel like, it's both.
It's both.
So, yeah.
So as a leader, that's kind of, you have to balance that. You have to
Yes.
figure out. So how much time do you spend doing the books, and how much time do you spend leading at this point in time?
The last 60 days have been a whirlwind for my business. I lost 2 full-time employees, which turns out to be a really good thing for the business. And so I have been doing a little bit more of the doing.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally, I do not do a lot of the doing, but I am meeting with top level clients. We call them platinum clients, where I am the CFO for them. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm consulting, I'm looking at the numbers, and that's what I really love to do. I do not, the doing is great because it
Yes.
has to be done.
Right.
And it has to be done well so you can have those accurate financials. But the consulting and the CFO and the higher level stuff, doing it for Deets consulting, but then also doing it for my clients. That's where I want to be. And so I still do QuickBooks though, and I still sit and enter numbers and bills, and because I'm really good at it after 20 years. But but I try to not to do that as much as possible.
So who? How do I put this? Who was your biggest mentor?
Probably my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that okay to go there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people that have strong father figures that cast a shadow do not like talking about it. So I just want to make sure that's okay.
I will tell you, I think one of the questions I forget, but moving, so I officed in my dad's building. And moving from his building to my own building was one of the hardest decisions of my business cycle, or whatever you want to call it.
Life.
Yeah, business life. Like it just, the little girl, not to say little girl on podcast, but the little girl in you that wants to please your dad.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So
I was a little boy once too.
Okay.
So here's the deal. You're coming up. You've worked for yourself as a piano teacher. You now have this business going. You've had a number of kids. You've been writing checks after C-sections.
Yeah.
You're pushing forward, right? Which is what it takes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's more moments that sucked in there. I'm sure there was the ebb and flow of when you were having to make payroll for yourself and hiring teams and questions in your head about, hey, I'm about done. But my question to you is, there has to be someone, because I find this every time, there has to be someone who told you the truth about the journey that you were on, that didn't sugarcoat it, right? So who is that person that told you the truth?
Yes. I would say, if I just have to pick one, my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's been just a huge support from the beginning. Like I said earlier, he's been in the roofing business for 40 years here in Bryan College Station. And he, once I got out of my house, because my first office was in Greg and I's master bedroom, which I don't recommend. You should never office in your master bedroom.
I did that during the COVID years.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I hated that bedroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's hard to turn it off,
Yeah.
Especially when it's just you. But once I started growing and hiring staff, I think that was in 2018, 2019. Let's see. 2018. I asked my dad, hey, can I office out of his business?
Okay.
And so we started renting 2 offices from him down on Texas Avenue. And that was the first time that I had been back in the office full time since having children and going through all that. So I hired my first employee and got an office with my dad.
So he's telling you the truth.
Yes.
What truth did he tell you?
Sometimes I don't like the truth.
Can't handle the
And
truth.
it's funny. Someone
Yeah.
actually told me today. One was to move slow, you know, and to be slow to make decisions. I think I definitely get excited and want to like change and move super fast, and learning to sit and wait to make decisions.
Okay.
And sometimes you got to make them and you got to go.
Sure.
But because of the foundation that he had given me working for him for so long, and then, it just, helped me along the way. And then follow through was truth. Like following through with people and holding people accountable came from my dad.
Yeah. One of my heroes is Jay, but he says to me, the key to business success is to show up and
Yep.
follow up.
Exactly.
Yeah, show up and follow up.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started working for him, I was only 17 years old and dealing with subcontractors, insurance, IRS, taxes, all the things. I learned so much. And, I always felt like it was babysitting people. And it's not my favorite thing. But, follow through and calling people and not waiting for them gets shit done,
I love that.
And
I love that.
so, some people are
Hold
like,
on.
oh,
So that's the code, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you've cracked the code.
Yeah.
So tell me, let say that again.
Yes.
What you said, because you've cracked the code and how it works. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just the follow through,
Yeah.
the accountability, and that gets shit done.
It does. It does.
And that's what makes Dietz Consulting different. Because I have trained my staff that we don't wait for our clients to follow up with us. We are following up with them. And there's months where we follow up every day with a client and they finally get us the information we need. But if I didn't have my dad teaching me that skill, I would not be as good as I am today.
Yeah.
As good as I am today. Yeah. So, I used to have to call people for money. That was one of my least favorite things. But my dad is really great at collecting accounts receivable. And so just making sure that your bills, because cash flow is so important.
It's king
to a business.
Yeah.
And so having that skill set, not being afraid to call people, work through those hard problems, it's a game changer. So,
what you're talking about here is the nitty gritty, right? Because when people start a business, they do have this fanciful idea of what they're getting themselves into. It's dirty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts that are no fun. Right. And especially if you lean like I do into the sales and business development part, the part that I do enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the thing nobody wants to do.
Right.
Nobody wants to ask the hard question.
No.
And try to get the close.
No.
To me, it's a challenge, but others,
Yeah.
no, it's not there. So I'm with you. That accounts payable part and receivable part, and you're trying to collect. Yeah.
And even getting people to invoice so they can have money. Like, it's crazy. Like, people don't value themselves and be like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to charge the people this money. And it's like, no, you've got to charge what you've said you're going to charge. And then 2, what you are, the value.
I love that you're doing that for people.
Yeah.
So wait a second. So let me get this straight. So your bookkeeper, the person who may be a fractional CFO for you, your liaison to the tax office, pushing all the numbers that way, is actually the one that has to kick you in the butt and say, you're worth something, invoice for what you've done.
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Because, numbers drive the business, right? Yeah. And, it's a key component to having success. And it's not about the money, right? Like, yes, it's great to have sales. It's great to be growing. But it's the whole picture, the whole health of the business. And that's why one of our taglines or visions is building that financial confidence. And it's when they have those systems in place and that not recurring, but just
Sure.
a good system in place, it's just going to propel you to more success, And so,
Absolutely. And I would agree that
Yeah.
if you can have your business and somehow form it in such a way that you have recurring revenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you become prosperous.
Yes.
If you live in a business that's one and done on everything.
Right. That's a lot of work
That's
to
a hard
keep
life.
that money coming in. So
That's right.
yeah.
So out of all these things that we're talking about, what was the number one thing that did help you succeed? Was it a handshake with the right person? Was it?
Yeah.
I know it's the grind, and
Yeah.
and I know your work ethic, right?
Right.
You've done it through merit. There's
Yeah.
no doubt, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big merit guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the other side, what I really need was there, because you always talk to business owners who said, well, there was this one moment
Yeah.
where everything changed.
I think for me, man, word of mouth referrals has been a game changer, and there have been a few key clients that have changed the game for me. And one is Fidelis, just having Tim and Mark Douglas, and like when you have them in your corner, like it's a huge support. And so for them, and then I have another one that I met his wife on the floor of my daughter's gymnastics building, and she's I was working because I was a stay-at-home mom and working while my child was doing gymnastics, and she saw me and she's like, hey, my husband needs you. And I was like, okay. And when we started helping him, he owed $100,000 to the IRS, and like he needed our help. And so those two relationships have just it changed my business. And I wasn't just working for my dad. There was the potential to have more top level clients like that really needed all of us, not just, hey, I just need you to run my payroll, or I just need you to do this one service. Like they need all of it, and we open their mail. Like it's crazy, but
so you became admin altogether.
Yes. And I think having those two key relationships have really, that's kind of what changed that relationship, or changed the business and the flow and the growth. And again, word of mouth referrals just speak for themselves, and that means it's a good reminder, because yes, owning your own business is hard. And when clients come and clients go, you forget. You're like, am I doing a good job? Am I doing the right thing? And yes, word of mouth referrals. Yes, you are doing the right thing.
Right.
So those, and then I also joined 1 Million Cups a couple years ago, and I just immediately had some key relationships there. And that was a game changer too. 1 Million Cups is a local free community for business owners in the Brazos Valley. It's a nationwide thing. And I've made some really good key relationships there as well that have just helped me.
Well, so I'm listening, and I'm going on your journey with you. I'm watching you do it. But what really comes to mind there is that you were cognizant, maybe subconsciously at least, I don't know, to work on the business and not in the business.
Yeah.
You started to grow it instead of,
yes,
getting in the trenches.
Yeah. And I did a lot of networking in the beginning, just because getting the name out there, and it seemed like the right thing to do. And then honestly, I've had to pull back in the last year or so because we didn't need.
Because you needed to. I get it. So you grew fast enough where it was time to scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't,
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah. And we did rebrand a few years ago.
Right.
And that helped legitimize the business even more. I came and I had a neon green and purple logo, because that was my husband and I's favorite colors. And I came.
Wait a second. Neon green and purple.
And purple.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to envision.
Yeah, maybe I can maybe find an old business card, but
Right.
Fidelis took that and was like, "No, we're going to help you," and they gave me a great brand
Yeah.
that I've just been able to run with
Yeah.
and really help establish us here in the community. Our office is on Texas Avenue. People drive by it, and you don't even realize it's kind of fun to own a business, even though it's really, really hard. But it's fun to put your name out there in the universe and be like, "Hey,
Oh,
we're
absolutely.
here."
Absolutely. And that's not narcissistic. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
there's something. No, there is. It is a thing at the end of the day when you have brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I've had internet-based businesses, not near as cool.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar. And
Mhm.
the other thing is when you are feeding families.
Yes. Yeah.
When it's successful enough to where you are enabling people to go on vacations and
Yes.
to grow children
Yes.
and to do all those things that are so
Mhm.
important, and you look back, it's not of you, right? We understand
Right.
that it's not you doing
Yeah.
it. It's this organism that's been built and blessed at the same
Yes.
time. But
Yeah.
there is something to that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the payoff. It's not
Yes.
necessarily the money in the bank. I mean,
Right.
we all have to eat, but still,
Right. Right.
but that, as we're talking and I'm getting mentored by you as we're speaking here, did someone tell you this early? It sounds like you were kind of intuitively doing a few things. Did somebody say, "Hey, it's time for you to get out and you need to start growing the business network"? I mean, was there mentorship?
No, I just wanted it all. And I think even growing up, people would ask me what your goals are, and I'm like, I don't know. It's wherever the Lord leads,
Right.
and that's how I was raised. And so, I just went out and I
Worked
just started
hard.
working, and then it was like, hey, I need, get in community with people, get into networking with people. That's what people do. And so I just went out there and did it. And early on, my dad and his younger years, like he would be part of the BBB
Yeah,
and all those,
yeah.
all those things. So I saw him do that early on in his career. And so I think I definitely was influenced by that to be like, hey, I want to be out in the community. I want to, get my name out
Right.
there. And, it's been good and figuring all that out.
It's
So,
been quite the conversation around
Yeah.
here because we, as many parents, most people in this office, except for a few,
Yeah.
are parents, right? Or soon to be parents.
right. Yeah.
And we have this conversation because we saw it more in not really our fathers, our grandfathers were in that age group, but our and grandmothers, and the other business owners that were in town.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow they had what we now say doesn't exist, which is work-life balance.
Right.
But somehow, just like what you said, your dad was doing the BBB, et cetera. But you would see them, doing everything from, prayer breakfast to hitting, whether it was the noon Lions or whatever it was,
Right.
plus running a business, plus in the afternoon coaching Little League or
Right,
doing whatever.
right.
And somehow they were able to fit all of that
Yes.
into a day and
Yeah.
still eat dinner with their family, right?
Right.
That's an incredible thing. And so when we ask about that mentorship question, let me reverse it now.
Yeah.
Right? What are you doing to mentor your team?
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
So one is I myself got a life coach. That has helped me tremendously to see life from different perspective. And then we also brought in a leadership coach.
Mhm.
His name is Jay also, and he has again just helped us. I think we talked earlier about the culture brand. And then, it's interesting, like finances, come up with our staff and talking about
Right.
budgeting. Like it's crazy, all the different facets that you can mentor your staff in. And then, so working with them and working on being leaders. I had one of my staff tell me last week, hey, I'm not a leader. And I'm like, yes, you are. You may be a different type of leader than this person, but you are a leader. And so currently, we have all women that worked for us. We've had men that have worked for us in the past, but, encouraging those women, giving them a place to grow. And I love hiring people that are like me, meaning maybe didn't go to college, maybe didn't have a great start with their life, but they are trying to get back on track. And because they have a good skill set, a good work ethic, good character, I can help them have not a second chance, but have a chance
Have
in
a
life,
chance.
you
Yeah,
know? And
yeah.
so making that difference in their lives as well. And, you know, it's been a journey, and I've had people that worked for me with degrees, some with not degrees, but, you know, that again, going back to the character and the hard work,
Right.
that just makes a difference. So,
Yeah. You know, it's not going to be taken well. We still live in a society that actually believes that piece of paper means something.
yeah,
And I've got multiple pieces of paper, but I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm not really sold.
yeah.
There are certain things, if you're going to, do open heart surgery,
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's other things, such as if you are going to go and open a business,
Yeah.
give me a skill set as such as a technician
Right.
that has those behaviors that I've talked about, and watch us help them flourish.
Right.
Believe it or not, the greatest growth in businesses we have here at Fidelis is not the $100 million business, right? You're talking about small percentages of growth at a time.
Right.
You're talking about, but if you look at mom and pop,
Mm-hmm.
and those businesses that are started there, the people were scraped up, not brought up,
Right.
with the correct thinking in the business.
Right.
No operational problems.
Right.
Right? We can't solve your
Yeah.
operational problems.
Right.
But compounded with marketing dollars,
Mm-hmm.
they're wealthy people.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like kind of wealthy people where you get to go on a vacation every 5 years.
Right.
They're wealthy people.
Yeah.
I think we've missed that in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, I commend you to that. So, okay, so here's the next piece. So that being said, what's your next great hope? What's the next great hope for Dietz Consult or for Phyllis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a significant life event about 4 weeks ago, and it has changed me for the rest of my life. And it's more about bigger picture and where the Lord is leading us. And honestly, like, to me right now, it's so unknown, or it feels unknown. But because of that, it has increased my trust in the Lord. Like, I asked my husband a couple of days ago, like, this is the time in your life where, we all say, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And it's real easy, right? Most of the time.
To say it.
But the recent events in my life, it has been kind of like just one major thing, a lot of other little things. And it's
Right.
like, dang, I really have to trust the Lord. And so with that, I'm going to keep growing Dietz Consulting and see where that takes me. I'm hoping to grow someone that may replace me. My long-term goal is I would love to have a couple businesses and, run them all so well that they don't need me.
Uh-huh.
And then just growing as a CFO too, here at Fidelis, here with my other clients, and really expanding my knowledge as a CFO, because I think, having someone in your corner that knows your finances, knows your numbers, it's like a warm, soft blanket. I like being that. I love helping people, and that's what brings me life and joy. And, at the same time, I'm providing for my family and my employees' family, and helping take care of the small businesses in the Brazos Valley.
Yeah. So we've, deal with a lot of businesses, and I've dealt with a lot of businesses in a lot of different ways. And I know I sound, once again, like a broken record when I say, listen, person, whoever I'm talking to, and this isn't directed towards you, Phyllis, but you need to make sure that you are taking that person that's working for you and teaching them to do your job.
Yeah.
And you need to be replaced.
Yes.
Every day you need to be thinking about, how am I going to replace myself?
Yes. Yeah.
And about the accident that I had, and when that accident happened, and how long it took to get over, and the idea that those people weren't prepared to keep it running.
Right. Yep.
or worse, you have nobody to
Yep.
lean on to keep it running at all.
Yes.
Every day you have to be that needs to be almost priority number one. How am
Yes.
I developing people around me to take my place?
Right. Right.
And that is a hard lesson
Yeah.
to learn, because in our society today, somehow we think that we need to entrench ourselves, and that's
Right.
that's the key to success.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not. It's growing others, and
Yeah.
it's helping others get to where they need to be.
Yes.
Because most people around us today, you'll probably agree, are way smarter than we are.
Oh, yes.
They're all way
Yeah.
smarter than I am. The
Right.
the IQ level is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The only thing I have is gray. That's the only thing I have that's going for me at
I
this
don't know
point in time.
about that, Chris.
But as we go, I just, that I can hear you saying it, and you
Yeah.
realize,
Yeah.
time with family.
Yeah.
We aren't promised tomorrow.
Nope, we are not.
We're not.
Yeah.
And it is the number one priority.
Yeah.
It really is.
And, I had to take about 3 weeks off for work recently just for some various things. And
Mm-hmm.
it made me trust my team more than I ever had before. And it went great.
Right.
And I was like, why did I not do this sooner? Like, why did I
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
I struggle with that releasing of control and trust,
Yeah.
and it's like, God's given me those people in my life, in
Mhm.
my business, and they do care, and
Right.
so it's been a game changer for me, just being able to let it be, not be like death grip on driving this train, and trusting my people. And I know it's going to be great for my team because
Right.
they're just going to thrive under that.
Yeah.
So,
It's an incredible thing to know. So we can read all of the business books we want.
right,
We can have all the process we want. But if we're not developing people,
right.
it's for naught.
Yeah, it is for naught.
And,
yeah.
and if you try
yeah.
to run that business all on your own, it will
Right.
fail.
Right.
Just remember that you are one accident away.
Right. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I do want to talk about process for a minute. You just
Yeah.
brought that up. That is another thing that changed for us in getting Phyllis out of the way, and letting my staff
Yes.
do it. We, the last 2 years, have worked our butts off to have processes, written processes. This
Mhm.
goes back to Marcus Lemonis. He talks about people, process. I forgot the last one. But anyway, the process thing and just having those written down has been a game changer.
Absolutely.
And when, I had someone that
Yeah.
was out sick for a week, and it's like, Phyllis knows how to do it, but does anyone else know how to do it? And being able just to put a person in there
Mhm.
to do the job, because we have those processes, has been another game
Repeatability.
changer. Yep.
So if we are incubating a business, as we
Mhm.
like to do, so if we're incubating a business and we're putting them in there, it's amazing how many businesses come in that see early success because they do have a good idea, but then kind of start to peter out.
Yeah.
And you look back at processes is because they haven't made it
Right.
repeatable.
Right.
And so when you can,
Yeah.
go in there and make it repeatable. Now, there's the Peter principle, right?
Mhm.
Which we always have to remember that we will always perform to our highest level of training.
Right.
So processes are great. And the other one that I always say, and I say it over and over, is that you can out-lead bad process, but you can't out-process bad leadership.
Right.
So it is
Yes.
an incredible balance
Yes.
of where you are in there, and that's what you're doing, right?
Right.
You are that conductor of that symphony,
Yes.
and that's the job.
Right.
It's
Right.
really not bookkeeping,
Exactly.
right?
And it can be draining, just, managing people. I love the Enneagram, and I'm an Enneagram 2, which is the helper, which is great for my role in bookkeeping and helping small businesses. But then it's so draining as a person that cares about the heart,
Mm.
and so that's been a whole nother journey for me, is learning how to care for my business, but not like die on the cross, or not the cross, but die. We need to edit that out. Die on, hey, Deeds Consulting is life, and it does provide for my life, but it is not my life. And it's kind of crazy. We have this saying that we live for bookkeeping, so you can live your life.
There you
And
go.
people love it because they
So
hate
Dr. Heal
bookkeeping.
yourself, right?
Yeah, but we have to be careful because, again, tomorrow is not promised, and you have to live for something more, and it's a journey. So
It is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this last question,
okay,
right? And this is the one that gets a whole lot of folks. This is a big one. So what is success for you then?
that is a good question.
Yeah.
I think for success for me is definitely my family and them being happy, and also myself. I think happiness for myself, I have found as a mom, especially, it's very easy to put myself on the back burner.
Mm.
And even as a business owner, you put yourself on the back burner because you are
Sacrificial.
Yes, exactly. Caring
Yeah.
for other people. But I started investing in myself a couple years ago, just again with my life coach, with leadership training, taking care of myself. And for me, knowing that I'm taken care of, my family's taken care of, and my staff is taken care of, it doesn't matter how much money I make. That's success for me.
You can sleep at night.
I can sleep at night. Exactly.
Right. That's the part they don't tell you about owning your own business.
Right.
There's the 2 a.m.
Yes.
wake up till
Yes.
about 4:30.
Right.
Yeah, and then you can't. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how it is. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.